Hello, I'm Jenna Lynn Roberts with Present Path Tarot, and today I want to talk about some of the major arcana archetypes that are coming up in 2020 and how we can work with them individually and as a culture. So we have a lot of change happening. The Wheel of Fortune is turning. Change is uncomfortable and it makes the future harder to envision because we don't know what to expect. There's lack of consistency happening right now. So this card is about the Wheel of Dharma, the wheel of change in Buddhism as well. And it is a flux, and the way to manage flux is to meditate. So picking up some meditation practice would really help to accept what comes and be at ease with your fears of the future. You can watch my other video about fearing the future if that would be helpful. With all this change, we have the Hierophant card. I've already spoken with this in another video. We have the Hierophant card, which is the stability, and it's reversed right now. It's on its head. The systems and structures that we normally rely on and have faith on, we're learning the weaknesses of, we're learning the failures in, and we are turning them upside down in order to heal and change them and return them right side up. And we need to consider how we want to design the future. And in that power that we are finding in ourselves, we have the Magician card. So the Magician card is about manifesting by balancing the elements and being in control of our own destiny with our own individual empowerment. And that means deep spiritual work and really looking at what do we need fully in our future with the Hierophant card changes. How do we need these to be in balance? And I want to point out that there's a link between them. If you notice the color scheme in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, we have the red and white outfit on the Magician reflected in the Hierophant, and the crown of the Hierophant, that yellow, is in the sky of the Magician. So there is kind of a synchronicity between these two cards. Another way to look at what's happening is, of course, the Justice card, that we are trying to bring things into balance, and that is not always easy. Sometimes the Hierophant has to go reversed in order to get there. And the Justice card means each of us individually need to be very critical thinkers and listening to what is fair and balanced to us, and not necessarily following a bandwagon of, the community you're in, but really stepping outside the norms of your community to think of yourself as judge and the person who can critically look at each situation for the nuance it has. We don't have a justice system where we just say, you were accused of this and therefore you're guilty. We have a system where you're innocent until proven guilty, and each person has an opportunity to be heard. So I think a lot of what's happening with the Justice card is a sense of people needing to hear each other. People need to be listening more. And a good judge is one who truly listens to every case that comes before him or her. And you yourself need to also be truly deeply listening and observing the nuance of every situation. One reason that you might be a little better at doing that now, hopefully, depending on your situation, is if you have had the opportunity with COVID to be in the Hermit card. So we've had a lot of alone time, and loneliness can be a hard part of what's happening because the socializing, the pack animal nature of humanity is currently being held back or quelled so that we can make sure we don't get each other sick. That's really challenging for a lot of people. Extroverts, that's really challenging for people who are lonely in general and don't have anyone and have to live alone. So, but being in the Hermit card means you're also spiritually seeking. It is a card of awareness and observation and taking the time to really deeply comprehend things. So giving yourself a spiritual book to read, giving yourself a spiritual practice, and getting into the quiet within you during this period of less socializing. Another aspect that I've spoken to in another video is about COVID and the Hanged Man, which is a card of surrendering to what is. We don't fully have control over what's going on. Obviously, there's been some Hierophant questions as to how this has been managed by major organizations of the government as well as the wider international organizations. And, you know, you can judge all you want, but the fact of the matter is that you have to surrender to how this thing plays itself out. And that can be very challenging and scary. So with that in mind, how can you let go and trust? And how can you also be accountable and do that which is your responsibility? There's so many more cards to go into. Let's go next with the Death card. Of course, this is a card of honoring the transitions of life. So we have the Change of the Wheel of Fortune card, which is just neutral change. It is just flux, and it goes together with the Death card in the sense that they're both about transition and chrysalis and new beginnings. The Death card is not about death. Obviously, it is right now, though, because we've had a lot of death through COVID. But it's also about major transformation. So this can be related to the Hierophant card reversed. It's going through a death phase, and it's going to right itself and hopefully be a nice, pretty butterfly compared to the mess that it was before on some levels. And this is a card of also a lot of self-awareness of how you want to evolve, how you want to change. Having a total lack of consistency just occur, you have an opportunity to really go inward and find what is it that I want different in my life in the next phase after this unique era has completed. How do I want to rebirth from this situation? And some of those decisions can be very hard, but this is an opportunity to learn and grow. So you got to take it. For some of us, that might mean a Tower card. For some of us, that might mean a toppling of our old habits and a renewal of new habits and allowing yourself to fully be accountable to how you need to grow and change and fully own your poop. It's not easy, but with the systems in upheaval like we have with the Hierophant card reversed, we have the Tower card toppling. And that can individually mean that each of us has to look inward to better understand our inherent bias, how we're a part of things that need changed, and how we've been doing a routine of responding to things and reacting to things the same way when we need to consider, pause, and respond in a more conscious way to the events happening in our lives individually and on a wider scale. That also means that we need to then, as we grow, as we go through the Death card, as we go through the Tower card, we need to rein in our Temperance card, which is the card of integration. Imagine that each of these cups represents a part of you. One part is the old self, and one part is the new self. How can you unite these two into your fully evolved new self? So you're going certain directions, you're changing, and you want to take some of the beauty of who you were before with you. It's not a complete new person. You want to integrate. And integration is a very adultifying experience because it is leveling up to a place where you acknowledge how you were in your past and how you want to be in your future and bring them together into the present. This is a card also of just balance, and in that way, you know, a lot of these cards have that. The Justice card is also about balance. The two pillars on either side reflecting that, with the angel having the two cups. The Hanged Man is about balance, but almost sort of hanging in balance, more of a, a drop that finds its level instead of swinging side to side. So balance is key. And the Magician is balancing all four elements of himself. So he has his water, earth, air, and fire in relatively healthy balance. And so that's another way to think about the Temperance card, is how you are empowered to keep yourself in better balance. Clearly, a big thing happening right now is our shadows are coming forward. We are seeing and acknowledging and accepting our darkness of our history, our darkness of our present, and our fears for the future in regards to, again, notice the balance factor of those two pillars in the background. And we have two dogs here, and one dog is wild and the other is tame. And the tame dog is learning to be wild again. So there's a balance factor of our animal nature that may not always be our best, but it sometimes can be, protective. And our, civilized, if you want to, that word is so nuanced to me, but our organized self versus our wild self. This is also the card of the subconscious, of going inward to your deeper depths of your mind and pulling forth that which is your shame, your fears, your heavy stuff that you don't like to look at, the uncomfortable things. So letting yourself look at those, knowing that only when you fully accept those aspects of yourself can you be in full wholeness with who you are. So honoring that it's all you, you can't just be focused on how great you are. You got to also focus on how you have been through some things that were hard and created negative connotations in you that you push to the back of your mind. So bring those forward. And the Star card is right next to the Moon card. And the Star card is about also allowing yourself to really engage with what you desire. What do you want to see this next world become? How do you want to see it evolve? And how do you need to evolve to become a part of that change? Let go of the politics. Let go of our differences and just sit with what is your desire for the most bright and beautiful future. And that could have been my last card, but I do feel like the Judgment card, we're still in it, people. And the Judgment card is happening because we are having a rebirth. And this is after a hero goes through his quest and faces his demons. He brings back the truth to to his community that he left behind. And right now we are having a great horn in the sky of truth. People's truth, people need to be heard, returning back to that Wheel of Fortune. All this change is happening because people have not felt heard, and they need to speak their truth and be listened to. So again, we have to be listening to each other and our internal selves as well, and be able to share with each other what's going on for us. That also helps with the Hermit card, because the Hermit card is also, he takes this lantern out into the world and he is reflecting back from the books he's read what the reality and true nature of things is. Books are one level of understanding, but you have to reflect that on reality. And this is people sharing their reality. It can be intimidating to hear other people's reality, and it creates a rebirth in the community. So this is related to Plato's symposium story of the cave, Plato's cave. That people were sitting inside a cave, metaphorically, watching the flickers of light on the back with a candle, the flickers of light on the cave and the shadows. And somebody exited the cave and saw the bright light outside and went back in and told everyone there's this world outside. And the people in the cave wanted to negate and deny it because they're comfortable with what's familiar. And the Judgment card is about that blaring light of truth that we cannot see past, and it creates a rebirth of society and ourselves. So all of this can be related to both what's happening on a bigger scale and what's happening with you. So consider that, and use the tools that this deck offers, you know, getting the meditation, listening to your subconscious, feeling that you have the power to create the future brightly by really being in tune with what your desires are, and surrendering to what is. It is as it is. The Hanged Man card is rough, but it's good medicine too. So I hope you're doing well through this unique, strange time we're in, and trust that it will level out again. Everything does level out at some point. It probably will not return to what we knew as a normal, but I really hope that it's going to be better than what normal was before. That's my hope. Always the idealist. So take care of yourselves, and write in the comments anything you have to share about what other archetypes you see coming up and how they're being reflected in your life through this time. And please subscribe to my page and share with your friends, and come get a reading from me sometime if you really need some guidance on how you're doing through this era of COVID and everything else. 2020! Wow!